When the letter arrived, I almost tossed it aside. No return address. Just my name in sharp black ink, handwritten like it came from another decade. Inside was a folded page, yellowed at the edges. Come visit us. It's time you remembered what you forgot. Elias and Eloise. I didn't know any Elias or Eloise. The only E names I remembered were from childhood bedtime stories. But the more I stared at the paper, the more my skin prickled with that odd sensation, like deja vu soaked in dread. Curiosity chipped away at my better judgment. I'd been burned out from work, tired of city noise. The address led to a quiet place 3 hours out, near a wooded valley I vaguely recalled my parents mentioning once. I figured it would be a weekend trip, a weird but harmless escape. I packed light. When I arrived, the house looked like it had been plucked from an old painting. Tall, ivy-covered, and still. The kind of place with history, and too many locked doors. Elias and Eloise greeted me on the porch, smiling. Their faces looked familiar, but I couldn't place them. Maybe cousins? Distant relatives? They spoke with odd formality, as though pretending to be something they weren't. Elias was tall and lean, hair slicked back, with an unsettling way of watching too closely. Eloise had pale skin, a soft voice, and eyes that didn't match her smile. They said they were happy I'd finally come home. Something was wrong with this place. I followed them into the house, the wooden floor groaning beneath every step like it remembered things I didn't. The air was thick, with the scent of old pine and something faintly metallic, almost like rust. Or blood. I tried not to think about it. The living room was vast, filled with antique furniture and dust-covered portraits of people with eyes too similar to mine. One of the frames held a little girl who could have been my younger self, same birthmark beneath the left eye. But I'd never been here before. I was sure of that. Don't you remember? Eloise asked, setting a chipped porcelain teacup in front of me. Her hands lingered too long near mine, as if searching for some invisible thread. You used to live here long ago. You were one of us before they took you away. Who took me away? I asked. Elias chuckled from the corner, where he stood half-shadowed beside a dusty piano. Your real family. They stole you from the cradle, raised you in a lie, but your blood never forgot. My stomach nodded. I don't have any memory of this place. You will, Eloise said, brushing my hair behind my ear like a sister might, or something else entirely. Her fingers were ice cold. I spent the night in the guest room, though it didn't feel like a guest room. The closet held dresses in my size, vintage and brittle with age. The mirror above the vanity reflected the room just slightly off. The wallpaper in the reflection had flowers. The real one did not. I tried to sleep, but the sound of soft footsteps padded just outside the door for hours. No talking, just pacing. Back and forth. At one point, I heard Elias whisper my name through the keyhole. I didn't sleep at all. By morning, the house was quieter, but not calmer. There was a feeling like it was holding its breath. Eloise knocked once before entering my room. She was already dressed, her hair tied with a red ribbon that looked almost wet. She handed me a long white dress I hadn't seen before. It was clean, pressed, and my exact size. Wear this, she said. It's tradition. We always wear white in the house. It keeps the past close. I wanted to say no, but something in her gaze told me refusal wouldn't go over well. I took it and dressed in the bathroom, locking the door behind me. The fabric was soft, but strangely heavy, like it had absorbed too many memories. At breakfast, Elias served me without asking what I wanted. A thick slice of bread, an egg poached so perfectly it looked artificial, and some red fruit jam that bled across the plate. He and Eloise ate nothing. You're getting used to it, Elias said, nodding approvingly. I didn't say I was staying, I replied. Eloise's smile flickered. You don't have to say it. You feel it. The house feels you. They began listing the house rules. Rule 1, never lock your door from the inside. Locks keep things in, not out, Elias warned. Rule 2, if you hear music from the 3rd floor, do not follow it. Rule 3, never go outside after dark, no matter what voice calls your name. I asked why. Eloise tilted her head. Because we don't want to lose you again. I tried the front door that afternoon. It was unlocked, but when I stepped outside, the world looked warped. Trees leaned in unnaturally. The sky looked stretched, as if someone had painted over it hastily. I took one step beyond the gate, and my vision blurred, my ears filled with a high-pitched screech. I stumbled back onto the porch, dizzy and nauseous. The world snapped back to normal. If this house could be called that. Elias was behind me. Some places you only leave when they let you. That night, I awoke to Eloise sitting at the edge of my bed, humming a lullaby I hadn't heard since childhood. I sat up sharply. "How do you know that song?" I whispered. She tilted her head. "Because I'm the one who taught it to you." I didn't answer her. I couldn't. My mind tried to make sense of what she said, but it was like hitting static. Eloise stayed seated at the edge of my bed for a long moment, her fingers gently tracing the hem of my blanket like she was petting a living thing. Then, without another word, she stood and left, her footsteps barely audible against the creaky wood floor. When the door closed, I locked it. The next morning, I began looking for proof, anything to explain the connection they claimed I had to this place. In the hallway outside my room, there were paintings I hadn't noticed before. One was a family portrait, a man and a woman, stiff and somber, flanked by 3 children. The middle child looked just like me. It was like seeing my own ghost, painted in oil. Later that afternoon, I explored the back hallway that led to the cellar. The air was colder there, heavier. I found an old wooden chest covered in a dirty tarp. Inside were newspaper clippings, photographs, and yellowed birth records. I dug through them with trembling hands. One article was titled, "Local twins mourn missing sister. Child disappears from Wisteria Lane estate, believed taken." The names, Elias and Eloise, age 9. The girl, me, age 4. Same birthday, same middle name. The photo matched the one in the portrait. I felt the room spin. I stumbled back upstairs. When I reached the hallway, Elias was already there, waiting. "You shouldn't be looking at those things," he said quietly, not angry, just disappointed. "Is it true?" I asked. "Was I taken from here?" His eyes softened, and for the first time, he seemed almost human. "They didn't take you out of love. They were afraid of what you'd become with us. But you were ours first, and you came back. That's all that matters." That night, I dreamt of being carried through the woods in the rain, of 2 children screaming my name from a house I could barely see. I woke with mud on my feet. I checked the window. It was closed from the inside. I didn't try to run the next day. Not yet. The dream, the article, the painting, it all felt too real. But I needed to know what Elias and Eloise actually wanted. They were hiding something, and I was done pretending I didn't feel it. At lunch, I pushed my plate away. "Tell me the truth. Why did you bring me here?" Eloise didn't blink. "To complete us." Elias's voice came lower. "You were the 3rd, the youngest, and now that you're back, the circle's whole again." "The circle for what?" I asked. "You said I was taken. What was I taken from?" Eloise stood slowly. She reached under the dining table and pulled out a rusted tin box. Inside was a broken music box, a lock of my hair, and a scorched photograph of a strange symbol carved in stone. The photo was dated the year I was born. "We were chosen, the 3 of us," Elias said. "You were too young to understand, but this house is old, and it chose us." My skin crawled. "For what?" Eloise smiled dreamily. "We were meant to stay together, to become more than blood. The ritual was interrupted when you vanished. But now we can finish it. Now we can finally bind." The way she said bind made my stomach turn. It wasn't just some creepy family reunion. They believed we were fated to merge into something else. Something wrong. That night, they held a candlelit ceremony in the drawing room. I pretended to cooperate, let them dress me in a white lace gown, let them smear ash on my cheeks. But as Elias began chanting in a guttural language, I noticed Eloise placing a key under the mantle. Her eyes flicked toward it for a half second, like a subconscious gesture. Maybe she wanted me to see it, or maybe she didn't expect me to survive. When the flames rose higher, I faked dizziness and collapsed. While they argued in whispers over whether to pause or continue, I crawled toward the fireplace and grabbed the key. Then I ran. I bolted through the east hall, down the narrow corridor past the kitchen, and toward the locked cellar door I'd seen on my first night. The key turned with a soft click. What I found in that cellar changed everything. The cellar air was damp and stank of rot and iron. My flashlight flickered as I stepped inside, the beam bouncing off stone walls and shelves lined with dusty jars. In the center of the room sat a single chair, bolted to the floor, with cracked leather straps dangling from its arms. Memories returned in flashes, not vivid images, but feelings. Screaming. Isolation. the cold bite of metal on skin. I hadn't just lived in this house as a child, I had been imprisoned here. And I hadn't been taken. I had been rescued. In the far corner of the cellar, a cabinet door was slightly ajar. I opened it and found a stack of VHS tapes labeled with dates. The earliest matched my birth year. The latest was 3 days ago. I didn't need to watch them to understand. Elias and Eloise hadn't just wanted a sibling. They wanted someone to relive their twisted idea of family. Someone to control, to break, and reshape. I grabbed the box of tapes and ran. I didn't care about the house's rules anymore. I didn't care about the night or the sky or the whispers. I barreled through the front door. This time, the world outside didn't blur. The air was cold and clear. My breath misted in the moonlight. I sprinted to my car, praying the keys were still inside. They were. The engine roared to life, and I tore down the dirt road, gravel kicking up behind me. In the rearview mirror, I saw the house growing smaller, the shadows at its windows stretching long, like arms that almost reached me. I didn't stop driving until I hit the nearest police station, shaking and covered in dirt. I gave them the tapes, the article, and told them everything. I thought they wouldn't believe me, but they did. The officers who went to the house found signs of ritual activity, hidden rooms, and enough evidence to open a full investigation. Elias and Eloise were gone. They vanished without a trace, but they'd never get me again. It took months to heal. I saw a therapist, reconnected with the people who really loved me. I learned my true past. My adoptive parents had saved me from something evil. They never told me to protect me. And they did. Now I live in a quiet apartment with plants, soft lighting, and doors that only I have keys to. Sometimes I still dream of the house. Sometimes I hear Elias calling from the dark, but I don't answer. I'm safe now, and I'll never go back.